Hey everybody, Jason Trofe back again for video number 2. Real quick, let's do a recap. In my first video, we focused on what we call the lean franchising method. And we'll recap that a little bit, but real quick, for video number 2, what we're going to be doing is we're going to look at matching your skill set to top performing franchisees. We published this article on Forbes and you can find it there. We're gonna do a little bit of a deeper dive here, right? So when considering if owning a franchise is the right business decision for you, it's important to know how to leverage your unique situation. It's simple, yet it can be overlooked when you get hyper-focused on financial gain or brand recognition, right? That's dangerous. So here we go. Our first video, we focused on the lean franchising method. And in there, we went over those 10 crucial aspects to consider before you're committing to a franchise model, any particular franchise brand. And specifically, we were looking at 3 points for identifying the right top performing franchise. However, it's just as important to match the top performing franchisees in these 5 key areas. Let me give you an example of 2 different people, right? On the one hand, you have somebody who knew that they matched the top performers in a given brand, right? And let's say his franchise has incredible numbers. Let's say it's 10 million in revenue. He's bringing home personally, netting 10% of that, which is $1 million. And if the background of that top performer, his background is in corporate sales. Before he bought the franchise, he spent 20 years in corporate sales. He knows how to get in touch with people of high stature, how to speak their language, how to get in the door, how to offer them something without feeling like a salesperson. He spends a lot of time on a golf course. He's a good golfing buddy. He knows how to shoot the breeze in conversation and bring a guy to lunch. And He's good at that, right? Let's take the bottom earner on that network. Their background is more of a back end, sort of a service where, let's say, they spent the last 20 years in the IT department, right? They weren't on the sales front lines. And they may have come from the same organization, but the background that they're coming in with, the skill set that they're coming in with is just vastly different. And that's why in the same blueprint, the same business system, the same model can make a millionaire and it can make someone go broke. If you're going into it and you're focused on the money, right? You're going to go into that situation and you're going to see, that there's a low cost to entry. And you're like, I can do that. I can do anything. I can follow the model. I can follow a system. It's a proven blueprint. I know how to follow instructions. I come from a corporate background. I did my job well for 20 years. I know how to do a job well. Teach me the job. Okay, right. So there's that mentality. Now, let's look at what that ignores. The 5 key areas to match in a top performing franchisee is number 1, their skill set. Number 2 is their personality. Number 3 is the location. And number 4 is the demographics in that location. And number 5, the competitive landscape. Your quote unquote, your franchise fit matters. The most time consuming part may be finding out who the top performing franchisees actually are. We've simplified this for you with a process for you to model. So based on what I learned from our franchise accountant, Kent Freibowitz, which you'll have access to when you work with us, here are 10 factors to consider. Number 1, look for a franchise that fits your skill set. Number 2, don't just look at revenue, look at what's going to be left after tax. Number 3, do a location analysis. What's your demographic? And number 4, do a competitive analysis. Right, so we go back to number 3. So number 3, do a location analysis. What's your demographic, right? So if the top performer lives in the middle of a major metropolitan area and it's a hot climate and it's mostly surrounded with young up and coming professionals, and it's outside of that, it has a lot of rural neighborhoods that are more higher income, and it's and then the area that you live in is maybe up north, so you have a different sort of season. So it snows. Maybe if that matters, I don't know if that matters. If that sometimes matters, it might be a seasonal business. and maybe your surrounding is of middle income or lower income than his area is, and maybe the average age is 50 plus instead of young up and coming professional. You're talking about retired people. It's just not the same ball of wax, even though you're using the same business system. So location analytics, location analysis is great to do. What's your demographic and what's their demographic? So do a competitive analysis and find out, is it saturated, right? Are there 47 subways in your area? You want to be number 48? And they're the only territory that isn't already claimed is 3 blocks off the highway, but you think that doesn't matter? It does. So find out if it's saturated. Or another way of saying it's saturated is it's not just saturated by its own brand and no territories available. Territories might be fine. They might be available right there, and you might have a good location. But there might be 47 other alternative options that serve exactly the same purpose as what you're putting up. You're still number 48. So both matter. And the industry as a whole, where's the demand and the supply as an industry as a whole? So we can help you do all this, but obviously these are things that people know how to do, and you can do them on your own in your own research. And I totally suggest that you do this research on your own. So number 5, is there a high turnover rate? So this is something we covered back in video number 1 a little bit. The turnover rate is how many new stores are coming on board and leaving. So with every business you start, there's some risk. Doing it with a franchise is probably the lowest risk out there of any business that you could start. Imagine doing it without that. Usually your franchise has an incredible leader with 30 plus years in experience in the industry. So it's still a good way to go. But you do want to check these turnover rates. It's a pretty good sign of where the company's headed. So number 6 is how affluent is your location? And we sort of covered that in the demographics. Are you looking at high income clientele that you want to reach and you're not in that area? Or maybe you are, but maybe the portion of high income in your area maybe 40% lower than the amount of high income residents in the top performing areas. That's important. Okay, so number 7, who is your target market? So you want to take a look at who is your target market, and are they there, and are they overserved or underserved? Number 8, you can learn any franchise business, right? And take that with a grain of salt. We covered your skill sets. Number 9, you don't know what you don't know, right? So you know everything that you know, but you have no idea what you haven't known. So for that reason, that's what we're here for, to give you that peripheral vision. So try to find out the things you don't know by accessing a council of advisors. Now, I'm not saying that to talk you into talking to me, but I am saying that I would go into it with a team of trusted advisors. If you don't know me, you don't trust me, that's okay. But any advisor you can find that you do trust, who's done it before, go in there with them. So for me, I have my own trusted advisors. I pass them along. They come with me for you, and that's my attorney, my accountants, and my finance advisor. So these 3 people have been in the industry for 30 plus years, and then also my family business has been in franchising for 30 plus years. So it's just experience that you want to find. Whatever it is, find your team of advisors. Number 10, consider working with a team of advisors to walk you through the process. So at leanfranchises.com, we use the Myers-Briggs type indicator. So what's that? It's a personality test, basically. It measures your strengths and your personality type to match you to the top performing franchisees in a given concept. So this will reveal truths about yourself that, believe it or not, you're too close to see. And I considered myself pretty self-aware. I knew who I was, and I took it and I got results that I did not expect. And I thought it was just like, the hocus pocus. I didn't really believe it. And as time went by, it stuck with me in the back of my head. And I did start to notice that it pointed out some very true things about me. I can kind of turn on a part of my personality when I need to get things done. But then when I don't need to get things done, I turn that part of myself off. And a real, authentic part of myself is not like that. Right? So that's one thing to know about yourself. If you have to, quote unquote, turn on to do it, that's okay. You're not going to feel like doing anything every day. but there is a certain, a certain amount of natural juices that are going to already play in your favor. So just know what those are and use this it's a free test. Or ask your best friends and your family to tell you what they think. Just anything outside of your own self. A little self-awareness is always a good thing. So you can also take a quick self-assessment and ask yourself the following questions. So which franchisees are crushing it and match my current skill set, interests, daily routine, and personality? That's a good thing to keep in mind, right? Remember the example of somebody who has a corporate background in sales is not going to perform the same as someone who has a corporate background in IT services. However, the other franchise that person could be looking at, if they weren't blinded by the dollar signs, could be an IT service. That he could probably sell better than the top salesperson could sell it. He knows what he's talking about, and if the IT person talks to the IT person or manager over in a small business, they can have a really intelligent conversation and lead them. They become the leader because they have more knowledge, and they learn that over 20 years, and that's your advantage. So know that. Okay, so how do you find out which franchisees are crushing it? So there's more to come on this, but first, a quick look at what not to do. Don't do this, right? So you may be attracted to a lucrative franchise concept just because it's lucrative, right? We kind of just said that. So not understanding that the top performing franchisees have an exceptionally strong corporate sales background, like I was saying, and an extroverted personality with community outreach strengths. So calling the brand directly may lead to being quote unquote sold on a concept. They really want you, to buy that one. They're not going to give you other options, obviously. They're just going to tell you about that one and make it sound great. So you may not realize what you're getting into. Instead, we recommend shadowing an actual franchisees for a day or two and see what it's like in real life. So we've segmented hundreds of franchise brands by skill set for this specific reason. And here is how to find the franchisees that are crushing it. This info is not readily available, but it's simple to gather if you know what you're looking for. So you could just call corporate office and ask, but not so fast. They may not tell you this, especially not right away. So they may not really tell you this, and especially won't tell you right out of the gate, right? So, but through this process, you will come across enough information to piece this together. So we've gone through this many times and developed a strong relationship with franchisors, and here is how you can do it on your own. When calling a franchisor, they are interviewing you as much as you're interviewing them, and it's a multi-step process, right? So just keep that in mind, that it's a multi-step process, and they're going to be interviewing you as much as you're interviewing them. So you're calling to ask them questions, but immediately they're sizing you up to see if you're going to be a good fit in their network because they know their owners. Okay, so it's a multi-step process, and be aware that you may be screened out if they don't feel you're qualified. They're not going to answer many questions at all. So you want to ask, what are their top performing locations? But if you just come right out of the gate with that question, you probably won't get the answer you're looking for. You're likely to get a standard rephrasing of their legal docs or FDD, the franchise disclosure document, and it's not specific enough. You won't know who the top performers are, but that there are top performers with average revenues. However, if you go through this process, you will arrive where you want to be. So it starts with what most call a discovery call to see if you're a good fit. So there's a warning to this. Sometimes they're really just concerned with whether you have a pulse and a bank account, so be careful. So one of the next steps usually includes a validation process. In all franchises, you're going to go through this validation process, and this is when you get the phone numbers of all their franchisees, and you get a green light to call them. And this is a great step. This is where you're really going to find out what you're looking for. So they expect to be probed for details, and here's the trick. This list that they give you, it's not sorted by revenue, so you still can't separate top performers from middle performers from bottom performers. So during this phase, you will find out who the top performers are simply by just asking everyone. All right, sounds simple, right? But it's just a little bit of work. You know how they say it's simple, it's just not easy. It's just it's like that. So we've done that a lot with a lot of these. We can kind of clue you in a little bit and kind of maybe help you get there faster. But you want to know who the top earners are and who the middle earners are and who the bottom earners are, and then you want to know why. What's the thing? What's the unique common? What's the common traits between them? So find out what their strengths are, right? And what their location demographics are, and what their background is, and what their competitive landscape looks like, and what their personality strengths are. Most importantly, which ones you match, right? When you ask those questions, that's where the self-assessment really starts to come into play. You're gonna put it into use. So you're asking those things, and you want to pay special attention to what you don't know about yourself, and what you are not necessarily what you don't know about yourself, but really you want to pay special attention to what you are hyping yourself up on, just because you're more excited about some other aspect of it, right? So in other words, if you're hyped up about making the amount of money that person's making, and you just think, I can do it, I mean, you're not using the leverage that naturally comes, that you're already good at. And you may be able to find that good money still if you just take the time to go through a few more concepts. So this is an important thing, important note. I've seen people waste their nest eggs on a dream, and they're just no good at it. So most importantly, which ones match you? So if your unique set of circumstances matches the bottom third, you want to move on. And if you match the middle third, maybe take a closer look. That's not so bad. So if you match the top third earners, you've hit the nail on the head. It's a perfect match. It's a home run. You're probably going to do great. You're probably going to be rookie of the year, and you're going to love it. So you found a blueprint. So let's say you got that top third match. You found it out. You found a blueprint that you're naturally inclined to be a success, instead of one you forced yourself into based on the profit and loss statements of others that are unlike you. Okay, so doing this due diligence is a bit of work. Doing this with one franchise concept is a bit time consuming, and you may need to do this several times to find the right match. But it's well worth the time to find the right franchise. So the right franchise fits your natural talents, your personality, your background, and skill set to naturally position you to just rise to the top performers, but naturally, and not slip off because you're trying so hard to be something you're not. So the next video, we'll focus on the exit strategy. And some of the best advice that I ever got was to buy with the exit in mind. And remember, if at any point in this you don't want to hear any more of this, you just want to have a conversation and get started, there's always a calendar link somewhere around this video, down below it. And you can schedule an appointment right on my calendar, or you can just text me. Give me a call, give me an email. I'm easy to get a hold of. So some of the best advice was to buy with the exit in mind, right? So this is something also franchisees are not really thinking about. They're always thinking about, the money they're going to make. They're focused on the idea of starting the business, or what it would be like to own the business. Rarely, when you go into buying a business, the person thinking about selling it already. But that is something that is a blind spot, right? So if you can't sell it in 3 to 5 years, just don't buy it. I mean, you'll find that out. You ask people and see, could they sell it now? Or how much does it sell for? What are the resales? So in video number 3, we'll focus on historical resale value. So in video number 3, we'll focus on historical resale value and blueprint the plan to get there. So if you're ready to get started, schedule an appointment in the calendar below. You can see me below. I have a calendar down there. My name's Jason Trofe. I'm a franchise consultant, and I can help you just kind of do this stuff quickly, get it done. And we basically have a layout here, or a 28-day plan, where we book a weekly discussion with you. It's a free discussion. In the first one, you're going to finish a short questionnaire. And, by the end of that questionnaire, my team knows pretty much a good set of options that are going to match what you're looking for. So go ahead and, schedule a time on my calendar, or watch the next video for your own research purposes, or do both. All right, I'll talk to you on video number 3. Have a good one. Bye.